This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin FREAKIN.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol, live. I'm Justin FREAKIN. It's a freaking Friday, so you know what that means. I've got the party lights on. Trump is getting ready to hold a rally in Georgia tomorrow evening. Looks like that's going to happen around 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We might live stream that. I usually do a best of show on Saturdays and Sundays. I think we'll live stream the Trump rally and then go into the best of show after that. But tonight's show, a lot on the plate. We're going to watch Michelle Bachmann cry over the fact that Trump lost the election. That'll be cathartic. Trump is wanting to execute more people on his way out the door. We talked about him bringing back the firing squad the other night. Officials are unsure as to what's causing the surge in COVID cases. Plus, Dr. Fauci has accepted Joe Biden's offer to be a part of the administration. We're going to talk about that, plus the stimulus bill, the possibility of it passing, as well as the bill today to decriminalize marijuana on the federal level. And stick around to the end. I've got dumb fuck right-wingers saying really stupid shit. Dinesh D'Souza. If you know who he is, I have a batshit crazy video he made. So we're going to be making fun of that. Plus so much more. And taking your calls and comments. 917-830-4359 if you'd like to call in. Or you can hop into the Discord. I think I'm online. Yeah, you can hop into the Discord, argue with me, give me your thoughts. Feel free to comment. Now, earlier in the day, I've been using Parler pretty hardcore because Facebook, I'm banned so much on there. I'm constantly serving a 30-day stint in the Facebook jail. I'm banned so often that the algorithm really works against me. So I've been using Parler hardcore. And I don't know what made me think of it, but earlier today I'm like, you know what? I should probably parlay out that these fucks should give me money. Patriots, I need your help. Every night I do a talk show exposing the liberal media and their bullshit. A donation of just $3 will help me continue to be a pain in the ass of those who want to see this country turn into a socialist hellhole. I left the A off. I realized I made the grammatical error, but it just made the post more authentic, right? Now that post has been seen by 1.3K people. 1,300 people have seen that post. I haven't gotten any donations from it yet, but I'm hoping I get one or two. What is up, Winch? Media Winch was on the show last week. We had a blast. I tried to have a guest tonight, but she was a little busy. Hopefully I can get her on Monday. She was part of the vaccine trials, and I really wanted to have her on to talk about her experience participating in the trials and some of the controversy that has arisen after the trial. But we're going to start off tonight with the stimulus talks. This is from Bloomberg News.
She and McConnell hope to bundle a stimulus and omnibus. This just passing.
Now, what he's talking about with the omnibus is that the government is getting ready to shut down in a week if they do not pass this omnibus bill. It's a spending bill to fund the government. Now, it's very possible they will come to a conclusion to do a continuing resolution, is what they call it, just to fund for another month until we get to the new administration. It's also very possible that the government shuts down next week. We'll see what happens.
The Bloomberg earlier in the day. What does that tell you about the fact that we are going to see something by the end of the year?
It's looking incredibly likely. I mean, you know this from your days covering Capitol Hill. When you're in the halls of Congress, if there are lawmakers and there's a deadline, if they have a...
I would have said that it was not very likely. He has way more confidence than I do. However, I'm a pretty hardcore cynic.
plane ticket booked to get home, they don't want to move that ticket. And to be honest, that's really what's serving as sort of the driving pressure. I'm not even trying to be funny here. It's the reality.
That's a factor in all this.
And spend it with their families, and that's just the reality of.
But I mean, hopefully the Republicans in Congress are looking towards, their political futures without Trump. Especially Mitch McConnell, but Mitch McConnell just won re-election, so it's not like it's any skin off his back.
Of covering Congress. Speaker Pelosi, headlines crossing the Bloomberg terminal just within the last 15 minutes or so, saying to reporters in the Capitol that she wants there to be some type of omnibus or essentially some massive legislative vehicle to attach some $908 billion worth.
That's the bipartisan bill put forward by like Romney and Dick Durbin.
$3+ trillion that Democrats had originally wanted for. Then they cut it down to $2.
But would not include direct payments to you and I.
$1 billion. When I talk to Republicans, they like what they see. They feel that they're moving in the right direction. But as you and I both know, Tim, there is no deal until it is signed, sealed, and delivered on the president's desk.
Yeah, look.
And one of the things that I read today was that it's kind of gone quiet on Capitol Hill because the staffers that need to be involved in the talks, they're actually writing the legislation, and that's a good sign that there has been some consensus and that we will actually see a bill come to the floor on Monday. McConnell has still said he is not for that $908 billion bill. But I don't know that McConnell holds all the cards here. Because I'm sure there's several Republicans that really want that bill. But it's kind of up to McConnell to bring the bill to a vote on the Senate floor. We're like a lot of moving pieces right now.
I think if we learned anything from this morning's jobs report, tens of millions of Americans are still certainly struggling, and it couldn't come any sooner for so many people here in the U.S. Kevin, I do wonder to what extent the activity that you've seen from Democrats and Republicans when it comes to the stimulus just in the last few days sort of foreshadows for January. And look, I know a lot hinges on what happens in Georgia, but let's say that Mitch McConnell and Republicans hold on to the Senate. What does it mean for future stimulus packages? Because as you mentioned, this is significantly less than the several $1 trillion that Democrats wanted. Does it look like Biden will be able to get anything done to that tune when he becomes president?
I think that's the question that we're all having down here in Washington. I mean, truly, because it's interesting, right? Because when we started the week and when we get these positive headlines, Tim, about, suddenly they are getting closer to a deal. Well, what changed? Well, essentially, Speaker Pelosi's looking at the incoming House of Representatives, and she's looking at the spread.
For slimmer margins.
Decreasing. Republicans made gains in the House of Representatives.
Which really puts the power
and her
in the moderates' hands.
Account, she wouldn't say this publicly, has essentially decreased a little bit, right? Because
the centrist Democrats.
Now, who's
and the rational Republicans that actually remain.
The 2020 cycle, centrists, not just centrists on the left, but centrists on the right. It's why someone like Senator Susan Collins, a Republican of Maine, Mitt Romney, I know some people, don't get me in trouble, some people wouldn't classify him as a centrist, but he is someone who has been critical of President Trump. Those types of Republican senators,
compared to other Republicans, I guess,
the ones that a President Biden is going to be looking to cut deals with, to pick off in a Republican-controlled House, and to bring along the centrists in the House of Representatives. So it's a fascinating, dust-settling moment here in Washington, D.C., where the new Joe Biden era is starting to take shape, and it's really between Leader McConnell and a President Biden. And Speaker Pelosi's Capitol has decreased just a little bit.
Well, we're certainly grateful that you were there covering this new era. Bloomberg's Kevin Cirilli in Washington. Thank you as always for your time and for joining us on Quick.
So we're looking to Monday. If a bill comes to the floor on Monday, that will be an optimistic sign that they are going to pass something before they leave Washington. Now, Bernie Sanders has come out and said that he doesn't support the bill. And I completely understand why he doesn't support it. The proposal provides 100% legal immunity to corporations who irresponsibly led to the deaths of hundreds of workers. It would continue to provide a get-out-of-jail-free card. Now, that has been McConnell's sticking point, is that he wanted this immunity legislation put in there for corporations. Americans need at least the $1,200 to pay rent and feed their family. Manchin Romney provides nothing for them, and that is correct. The only thing in that bill is an extension of unemployment, and it's not the $600 plus up. It's a $300 plus up. And there's no sign that that would be retroactive so that you'd be able to get that going back a couple of months. Because a lot of the proposals have had the plus ups. I think Ro Khanna put forward a proposal. It was like a $2,000 a month, and it was retroactive back to July. One of the things I've talked about on this show is I'm amazed that the oligarchs and the corporate backers that run this country aren't wanting to get money into the hands of Americans before Christmas. So many retailers don't even hit the black until they hit the Christmas season. So seeing a depression through December going into Christmas buying season is going to severely hurt even the big box stores. The Manchin-Romney not only provides no direct payments, it does nothing to address the healthcare crisis and provides totally inadequate assistance for the most vulnerable. The American people need help now. Receive at least $1,200, and that they don't give legal immunity to corporations who break the law. Now, I agree with Bernie Sanders 100%. However, it's kind of this deal or nothing. I hope Bernie is able to flex his muscle and get something for the working class in there. But I don't see anything better than this $908 billion bill on the horizon. And they are running out of time to be able to pass that. So kudos to Bernie for standing up. However, at this moment in time, I think the Democrats should really take the deal. At least it's something, even though, as I pointed out, if it's these expanded unemployment benefits, you're not going to see those for 3 or 4 weeks. If you were on unemployment earlier in the year and you exhausted your benefits, or if you were a gig worker, a contract laborer who was able to collect unemployment, your ability to collect unemployment expired back in October. So while it may allow gig workers, contract laborers to receive that $300, you're going to have to reapply through your state unemployment mechanism, and it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks at the soonest that you would see that money. People need help now. Now, Bernie was on Anderson Cooper last night, and he was talking about how to put pressure on Republicans like Mitch McConnell.
To get some of these things accomplished requires not only an outpouring at the ballot box, but also an ongoing outpouring of people being involved.
That's right.
And there's a lot of folks, and I'm wondering if you get this sense, who are sort of exhausted.
How did you not get a $1,200 check? And if you don't, there was a website. If you didn't get your $1,200 check, go and sign up for that website. Or go look at it's got resources to help you be able to collect that check, because the CARES Act money expires in the next couple of weeks, and it may be with the spending bill next week. So do check into that. I don't know what the website name is, but I know that there is a website that has resources for helping you collect that $1,200 if you did not get it earlier in the year.
And, you know, they feel Joe Biden got elected, Democrats, and now maybe are taking their foot off the gas pedal.
Well, we can't afford to do that. And I know that there are incredible grassroots organizations who are working in Georgia, working all over this country.
Oh.
People together to demand that we create an economy
That explains
that works
it.
for all of us and not just the few. And I think that if you had a President Biden, a Vice President Harris, going to Kentucky and asking the workers there whether they're satisfied with a $7.25 an hour minimum.
And Bernie knows what he's talking about. When the coal miners got stiffed by the coal companies and did a strike where they held up the trains, not letting them take the coal out until they got their last paychecks from the company that stiffed them, Bernie was there with them on the front lines.
Minimum wage. You know what? I think Mitch McConnell may start to move. And I think that's true for Republican senators all over the country. The truth is that today people are hurting in a way that we have not hurt for generations. People want action. And I think if the Biden administration is strong and forceful and comes out with a list of proposals and the American people are saying, yeah, that's what we need. Of course we should cover health care for all. Of course we got to stop being ripped off by the drug companies who charge us 10 times more for insulin than they do in Canada. Let's go, Joe. Let's do it. And if we can rally the American people, even if we don't control the Senate, I think we can get a hell of a lot done.
Now, he mentions rallying the American people. Now, there has been a big national story, and I haven't covered it yet. It's gotten very little play here in America, and there's a good reason why. In India, I think this is the biggest strike in the history of the world. Millions of people are rising up against Modi. Now, what I have seen has framed this as being just farmers. And in the video we're going to watch, they say it's a few thousand. I saw the number somewhere like 2.5 million people are striking in India. Now, Modi, big fan of Donald Trump. Had him over in the country 2018? Maybe last year. No, it was earlier this year. I'm sorry, time is dilated. It was earlier this year because the coronavirus was already going on. And Donald Trump took a lot of flack for having this big gathering at a soccer stadium in India. So let's get some international news perspective on exactly what is going on here.
You want to make beats like this?
Oh, I do. What are you on, the Fruity Loops?
Where the government has invited farm union leaders to talks as thousands of farmers continue to block roads into the capital, Delhi. They are protesting.
See how he said thousands? It's millions.
They say will leave them at the mercy of big corporations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said protesters are being misled by the opposition parties and that the laws will actually benefit them.
These 20,000 farmers aren't going anywhere. Their trucks and tractors are blocking major highways near India's capital.
Now think about it. Why would the American media not want to cover something like this? Especially at a time like this, when our Congress is at a stalemate.
Each of our tractors is loaded with rations for up to 4 months. Until the time the government reverses these new agricultural laws, none of us will go back. The farmers feel their livelihoods are under threat. New laws mean the government will soon stop buying grain at guaranteed prices. The farmers claim that could leave them at the mercy of corporations who won't pay enough for their crops. India's Prime
Sounds about
Minister is
right.
trying to placate the groups because their protests are causing disruption and threaten to cost him politically. I want to tell the citizens and farmers from the banks of the river Ganges and the holy city of Varanasi that we are working with intentions which are as pure as the water of the river Ganges and without any
As pure as the water of the river Ganges. I do believe that river is one of the most polluted rivers in the world. So maybe he's right.
intention of betrayal. Modi's government says the laws give farmers the freedom to sell their crops to private buyers rather than through the state. They insist the laws will drive up prices, but the farmers remain.
Yeah, because capitalism works everywhere else.
We have always suspected the government's intentions because they have become a slave of the corporations. They want to turn us into their slaves as well. The farmers' protests have been going on for months, since Parliament passed the new laws in September. But they only caught the country's attention in recent days, when thousands of farmers clashed with police. Security forces used tear gas and water cannons to prevent protesters from entering Delhi. They were stopped just outside the city. But they're now determined to camp out for the long haul.
Well, for more on this story, let's bring in DW's.
We are in desperate need of a general strike in this country. We need a rent strike. We need people to stay home, not just for better working conditions, but to try to get this virus under control. But our media is too busy trying to placate Trump supporters and the grifters who are continuing to further the notion that Donald Trump actually won the election and that there was fraud. Let's listen to former Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann and her batshit crazy views.
For this moment in the United States, we seriously, sincerely cry out to you, confessing our personal sins. We confess the sins of our country as proxies. We ask you, oh God, for deliverance, that our country may continue.
Religion is a cancer. It's the common denominator with all these people. And ironically, God always seems to have the same position that they personally hold. I don't think that's any coincidence. But go on, Michelle.
You to know freedom. Lord, would you deliver these races in Georgia, oh Father? Would you deliver various local and state races, Father, that they aren't stolen? Would you give us a true vote? And oh God, I personally ask from myself, Michelle Bachmann, Lord, would you allow Donald Trump to have a second term as president?
They picked Biden, and Biden is now 7 million votes. Broke the 7 million vote threshold. Apparently, your God doesn't like you very much, Michelle.
Vote. And oh God, I personally ask from myself, Michelle Bachmann, Lord, would you allow Donald Trump to have a second term as president of the United States? For this moment in the United States, we
Crazy-eyed Bachmann.
Sincerely.
In Jesus' name we play. Shit, I fucked it up. In Jesus' name we pray. These people have gone batshit. Speaking of batshit, Laura Ingraham on Fox News. Somehow a video from Newsmax features Laura Ingraham from Fox News.
Democrats and their media poodles have repeatedly claimed there is zero evidence of voter fraud in Georgia, but this is false. As we showed you earlier, Georgia's state Senate hearing today was full of extremely credible witness offering eyewitness and eye-opening testimony that completely disproves Trump's narrative. Now,
credible witnesses, like the woman we watched last night who was insanely drunk. That was in Michigan, though.
Yet, regardless of what happens in that case, President Trump is 100% all in for getting Senators Perdue and Loeffler reelected on January.
Now, apparently that's what he's going down there to rally about tomorrow. I can't imagine that the rally isn't just going to be me, I got robbed.
Calling on Georgia Governor Brian Kemp to do more to safeguard the upcoming election. So will he? Governor Brian Kemp joins us now. Governor, I want to begin with what Senator Lindsey Graham said on Fox News last night.
Senator Lindsey Graham, who investigators have asked
I'm begging the governor to call
to be looked into for his election interference.
When it comes to verifying signatures on mail-in ballots, that is done bipartisan, not a single individual in a county office that may have an agenda that's partisan. That's a simple fix.
Also, I really like this guy. We watched the other press conference.
A lot of fraud.
With the election official who said that it has to stop, was very adamant.
To stop socialism, Pelosi, AOC, and everybody else. And I'm really glad to be here with you to try to help my friends David Perdue and Senator Loeffler. You know, I called early on for a signal.
Both of which are embroiled in scandals about insider trading. When you hear socialism from a right-winger, what they mean is not letting us get away with our corporate theft. That's what they mean when they say socialism.
Laws in the Constitution would have to order that. He has not done that. I think it should be done. I think, especially with what we saw today, it raises more questions. There needs to be transparency on that. I would again call for that, and I think in the...
Excellent question, and I don't think Trump is going to go down there for any other reason other than to keep raising the temperature, keep feeding his followers what they want to hear. I'm amazed that he's holding this rally, and Republicans are letting him hold this rally, because I do not think... What's up, Ninja? I do not think it will be anything other than a rally about how much of a victim he is. I do not think he will do anything to help Perdue or Loeffler at this point. That's one of the reasons why I'm very interested to watch the rally tomorrow. No. I don't. But I mean, surely, I don't know who's in his ear anymore. It seems like he's operating alone with Barr coming out. I'm assuming that Barr had some kind of meeting with Mitch McConnell. The actual establishment Republicans are off the bandwagon now. They're all jumping off the sinking ship. I wonder if Loeffler or Perdue asked him to come to the rally and come and do the rally in Georgia. Exactly. We played the video of the election official. It was like, it has to stop. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. That's one of the reasons why I'm going to stream his rally tomorrow night. Because it's going to be interesting what he has to say. I do not think for a second that it will be anything helpful to Perdue or Loeffler. If anything, he'll probably be a detriment to them. We've seen in Arizona when he brought Martha McSally on the stage. It was like he was putting her down. So I don't see how Trump is going to be of help to them. And it's going to be interesting to see if Perdue and Loeffler are there with him at that rally. and how he treats them. Because just like the most important speech he's ever given the other night, it's just all going to be about him. Now, I wanted to play this video because they were talking about the smoking gun in Georgia. Georgia Governor Kemp urges signature audit after smoking gun video emerges. I thought they would play the video, but hey, I have the video right here. Let's play it. Also from Newsmax, a totally reputable
at about 8 o'clock
source.
in the morning, and we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there.
This is the smoking
The
gun.
person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting.
This is what's going to convince us that there's
there's
all kinds of voter fraud going on.
Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. Yeah, upper right hand, you see the gentleman in the red. So he just pulled one out.
Yeah, my first thought on this was that they weren't even ballots, that they were just
what are these
equipment or
ballots
something
doing
they were
there,
pulling
separate
out.
from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses? Is the question.
Apparently there were, 4 suitcases?
So these machines can process about 3,000 ballots an hour. You have multiple machines there, and they're there for 2 hours. So you do the math. How many ballots went through those machines in those 2 hours when there was no one there to supervise, to be present, consistent with your statutes and rules, to supervise the tabulation?
That claim, no one there to supervise. Keep that in mind.
Probably is certainly beyond the margin of victory in this race.
So, after a little digging, because my first thought process was just like I think it was in Michigan, where the guy had the wagon, and they said it was wagons of ballots. And it turned out it absolutely wasn't ballots, it was camera equipment, and it was a news crew. But this guy, Stephen Fowler, who covers Georgia elections, that's literally his name on Twitter. See that guy in the blue jacket? In some of the camera screens in this video, that's an official monitor from the Secretary of State's office who was there watching the vote counting. Just like the Secretary of State and Fulton County had already said. Some partisan monitors left. This was the middle of the night. I don't know if they were live streamed, but I mean, if you're going to try to commit election fraud, are you going to do it when you know there's cameras everywhere? It just makes no sense. But the people that left were apparently the partisan monitors. But it was not unsupervised. Oh, that's OAN. Like, I'm sure it was on one of their live shows. Like, this is the Troll Patrol live, but I'm playing you footage. I need to check in with some InfoWars. So, I'm going to tell you guys something. It doesn't make me feel good to say this. I agree with Matt Gaetz. Here is Matt Gaetz on the floor of the House earlier.
Was recognized.
Speaker, I would yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Gaetz.
Gentleman from Florida is recognized.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. The MORE Act is flawed. It uses cannabis policy to do a great...
Matt's hair, man, like he is, he's really going hipster with his hair, isn't he? What's going on with this? Not that he looks bad.
great deal of social engineering to create new taxes and new programs and redistribution of assets. But I am here as the only Republican co-sponsor of the MORE Act, and I'm voting for it. Because the federal government has lied to the people of this country about marijuana for a generation. We have seen.
I agree, Matt. For the first time, I agree with you.
Locked up for offenses that should have not resulted in any incarceration whatsoever. I'm also deeply troubled that the current policy of the federal government inhibits research into cannabis. Research that could unlock cures and help people live better lives. My Republican colleagues today will make a number of arguments against this bill, but those arguments are overwhelmingly losing with the American people. In every state where cannabis reform was on the ballot in this country, it passed. It passed with overwhelming support. Matter of fact, the only thing that I know that's more popular than getting out of the war on drugs is getting out of the war in Afghanistan. But if we were measuring the success in the war on drugs, it would be hard to conclude anything other than the fact that drugs have won.
Smoke them if you got them.
The American people do not support the policies of incarceration, limited research, limited choice, and particularly constraining medical application. We are here in a time where many people in our country are suffering. They are in pain, and it is documented that cannabis...
I am happy that this is me playing a video of a Republican where I'm not popping up Rudy Giuliani saying, "Do you think we're stupid? Do you think we're fools?" Or throwing out the right-wingers or morons tagline. You smoked the most weed on Twitter. When I hopped onto the stream last night, you were rolling one. I used to smoke on the show all the time. But then I went back and watched myself. I'm like, wow, I'm not as sharp when I'm just sitting here fucking taking bong rips on the stream. So I have instituted my rule as like when I'm doing stand-up comedy. I don't smoke an hour before I go on stage, so I do not smoke an hour before I do the show from now on. I'm pretty straight right now.
That states with medical cannabis programs see a reduction in the prescribing of opioids and the number of opioid abuses and deaths. We've held hearings in the House.
I hate that we're agreeing with him.
People in our government must confess that this is in fact true, that the more we give people access to medical cannabis programs, the more we see a blunting of this horrible
he said blunting
of opioid addiction and opioid abuse. We talk all the time on the right about the need to
no pun
empower
intended.
People and empower states. Right now, the federal policy on cannabis constrains our people. It limits our states. And I would only hope that in the 117th Congress, after this bill invariably dies in the Senate, they will actually come back and pass the States Act, because the States Act acknowledges that we have screwed this up in the federal government. And while we've screwed it up, states have taken action. They've designed programs in the way that our great federalist system promises. And if we were to pass the States Act, then best practices would emerge. States that developed applicable programs for their people would be replicable, and we would see better policies. I'm going to vote for the MORE Act. It won't pass the Senate. It won't become law. But then we should come back in the 117th Congress, and we should truly do more for our people. I thank the gentleman.
He is correct. There is no chance in hell that it will pass the Senate. Absolutely not. But just the fact that it passed the House today is historic. Not only does it decriminalize weed, as I read it earlier, I didn't really get into the minutia of it. I believe it expunges people's records for marijuana's possession, which is also a very big step in the right direction. I do not think McConnell and Trump are together in any way, shape, or form right now. Trump is not doing anything rational or reasonable. So that probably would be a good thing if he was to run for re-election in 2024. for them to pass, but I'm sure McConnell is incredibly against it. And I don't know why. He's from Kentucky, where hemp is very prominent. And there was a gubernatorial candidate that ran many, many times named Gatewood Galbraith from Kentucky. Very fascinating story. He wrote a book called The Last Free Man in America. I actually have my signed copy over there. The last time he ran for governor before he died, I interviewed him. And I said, have you backed off your stance on the legalization of marijuana? And this was in 2006, 2005. He's like, heck no, my friend. Definitely look up Gatewood Galbraith. But hemp, agriculturally in Kentucky, has been a big part of the history of the state before the criminalization of it. And I think even a lot of the federal programs on the research of hemp goes on at like UK in Lexington. That's exactly right. Mitch McConnell's top donor is a health insurance company. Aetna, I believe, is the company in headquartered in Louisville. I think I might be wrong on that. Which company is? Hold on. I also misspelled that really bad. That didn't pull up what I wanted. I'm sorry, but one of the biggest insurance companies in the United States is headquartered in Louisville, Kentucky, and they are Mitch McConnell's top donor. So news broke a couple of days ago that Joe Biden had asked Dr. Fauci to stay on and be the chief medical advisor.
President-elect Joe Biden said in an interview yesterday.
This was Fauci's response on Today this morning.
To wear a mask for 100 days. He said just 100 days, not forever. Is that enough, or do you feel like that might put an artificial time limit on how long people may need to be wearing masks?
No, he didn't mean it that way. I spoke to him about that. What he wants, he just wants to get, and it's a good idea, uniform. He's saying, hey, folks, trust me, everybody for 100 days. Now, it might be that after that, we still are going to need it, but he just wants it, everybody for a commitment for 100 days. And I discussed that with him, and I told him I thought that was a good idea.
He also said when he spoke to you, he asked you to continue in your role, which you've had under 6 presidents, but also to serve as his chief medical advisor. Will you do that? Did you say yes?
Oh, absolutely. I said yes right on the spot. Yeah.
That's encouraging. What's not encouraging is this story I saw. Officials aren't sure exactly what's driving the COVID-19 surge. I wonder what could possibly be driving the surge. Lack of federal leadership? Providing money to people so that they're able to stay home if they can? Mask mandates? I wonder what could be driving the surge? Since COVID-19 cases began to rise in late October, they've been rising steadily for months before late October. Small gatherings were quickly pinpointed by state officials in Virginia and across the country as a significant contributor to the spread of the virus. And they're rising right now because people are gathering and they're not wearing masks. 3 days later, he reinforced the messages to Governor Northam. Instituted a midnight curfew for restaurants and a ban on gatherings of more than 25 people. I mean, there's a lot of contributing factors. The fact that the weather started getting colder. People started being indoors more. You had the expiration of unemployment benefits. People had to go back to work in the middle of October. Everything is just compounding this problem, and we don't have leadership. And unfortunately, the framework of our country, it has to be the Fed to take the reins on this, because there are a lot of things that are unconstitutional that you can't do at the state level. The new mandates were quickly criticized by some of the administration's political opponents, especially when it came to the limit on gathering sizes. And that's why I hate that this, like, it's an attack on your liberty. Like this delegate Todd Gilbert here, incredibly disappointed to see the governor announce drastic, new, and confusing. Now, I will agree with him on confusing COVID restrictions, because it's like you've got to do a balancing act. You've got to try to give the people the ability to go out and earn a living, because the federal government isn't providing people with the money. I feel sorry for restaurants, bars, live event venues that are going under. I honestly do. But I also feel sorry for the 3,000 plus people that died yesterday. Halloween was a factor. This has all been a disaster. And we're not anywhere near close to help. There is no light at the end of the tunnel right now. And then you have this nurse in Tennessee. This is heartbreaking.
Access to information.
Channel 5 Chief Investigative Reporter Phil Williams continues our coverage. Phil.
Well, guys,
what up, Phil?
Continue to track the numbers. Every day almost brings a new record for hospitalizations. But a lot of people just don't seem to be swayed by the numbers. That's why one Tennessee nurse wants you to see the crisis through her eyes.
Okay, so I guess where to start. We started this fight together. We started staying at home, not going out unnecessarily. As a community, I think that everybody did really well. They fought with us.
If you want to see real COVID fatigue, look into the eyes of Nurse Emily Egan.
And now, I guess they're tired of it, I guess.
And that's another thing that is going to make this problem even worse. The strain that we are putting on our healthcare workers. Nurses and doctors aren't going to keep putting their lives on the line. I'm amazed that we haven't seen a nationwide nurse shortage yet, but I'm sure it's coming. And it may very well be localized to different areas that they're begging for medical personnel. There was a story in, I think it was Montana, where they had to have nurses that were diagnosed with COVID but weren't showing symptoms to continue to work because they were short-staffed. And it's just going to get worse.
People are tired of being alone or in their homes and want to get out and be social again. And we understand the importance of mental health, but the fight is getting out of hand.
For the past month, Nurse Egan has worked the COVID ICU at Holston Valley Medical Center in Kingsport. As COVID hospitalizations continue to skyrocket across the state of Tennessee, she has seen the faces behind the numbers.
We're losing more than we're keeping. I put an ungodly amount of people in body bags that that I wasn't prepared to do, that I wasn't prepared to give up on a patient, but there was nothing else we could do, and we lost him.
Across Tennessee, hospitals are feeling the strain. Sadly, some days the number of available ICU beds depends on the number of people dying.
There's been days that I have lost 2 patients, did their care and got them moved out to the funeral homes, and had to take 2 right back that were equally as sick. I go home, I carry it home, I cry a lot. I cry a lot.
Nurse Egan says she gets that some people don't like wearing masks, that breathing through them isn't always easy.
But seeing these people die that can't breathe, you know, like it starts to take a toll on you. And you feel so frustrated that they didn't take it serious, you know, like I can't tell you how many patients that we've had that they contracted it at a ball game or at a family affair of some sort, you know, some birthday parties or dinner.
And that's another thing, especially here in the South. I don't know how it is in other areas of the country. They've been all about playing some football, basketball. You look through the comment sections on Facebook, and that's what, oh, my kids don't get to play basketball, man. I'm stunned. The reckless disregard for human life. Yes, in Kingsport, Johnson City, in East Tennessee, they have ordered refrigerated morgue trucks all over Tennessee because Governor Bill Lee has been a gigantic piece of shit. We talked about the lack of federal leadership, but in states like Tennessee and then in Alabama, Governor Kay Ivey, Governor Meemaw they call her, who shouldn't even be governor. She was the lieutenant governor under a governor that got the boot for having a sex scandal. Because, you know, of course, Republicans are involved in sex scandals. Brian Kemp over in Georgia. No leadership from these people. And we did the story, I think it was last night, where health officials are saying like, hey, on the local level, you need to take these matters into your own hands and institute mask mandates. Even if you're not getting any support from the state. And think about it. Think about how many people died on 9/11 and how many billions of dollars we put towards the forever wars that we're stuck in now. And you can't even give people $1,200 to stay the fuck home. It is infuriating.
In her case, she hasn't seen her own grandparents in months because these days, she says, require all of us to be willing to make sacrifices.
I'm giving these patients my all. I've sat with them. I've held their hand as they died because family couldn't be here. And it starts to hurt. And if you could just stop one case by wearing a mask or staying home.
$6 trillion. You are correct.
It would help us so much. Just one case. If everybody did that for one person.
We can't pass a $2 trillion bill that actually helps people and gets this shit under control. But there's no money to be made on it. At least when you go to war, it's a jobs program for the defense contractors that fill your political coffers. It's disgusting. But hey, at least the federal government is taking leadership on one issue. Hoorah! Did I say it right? I've gotten it wrong a few times. I interviewed some Marines back when I was doing news. I wanted to make sure I got it right. Donald Trump wanting to execute 5 more prisoners.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.
What's up, Amy Goodman?
Report. I'm Amy Goodman. As we look further at the unprecedented 5 federal executions President Trump's Justice Department is scheduled before Inauguration Day. On December 10th, that's International Human Rights Day, the federal government plans to kill a 40-year-old black man named Brandon Bernard. He was 18 years...
Yeah, like the thumbnail. They were all 5 black, weren't they? Of course.
Old when he was allegedly an accomplice to a murder of a young white couple. During his trial, his attorneys did not make opening statements. At the penalty stage, they called no witnesses. Out of the 12 jurors, all but 1 was white. Now 5 of the jurors should not be executed. A former assistant U.S. attorney who helped secure his death sentence wrote in the Indianapolis Star, quote, "Executing Brandon would be a terrible stain on the nation's honor." That's one of the prosecutors who prosecuted him. And the day after Bernard is set to die, Alfred Bourgeois, another black man, is scheduled to be federally executed December 11th. As we reported, January 12th, Lisa Montgomery is scheduled to be the first woman executed by the federal government in nearly 70 years. The Trump administration has rejected...
I actually had read her story.
On January 14th, Corey Johnson, another black man, is set to be put to death. According to Johnson's attorneys, he has an IQ of 69, which means he's below the standard the Supreme Court used to determine if an execution would be cruel and unusual punishment. And on January 15th, Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, the federal government's expected to execute Dustin Higgs, another black man who was sentenced to die for his role in the murder of 3 women, even though he did not kill them, under the so-called law of parties theory. For more, we continue with Sister Helen Bergeon, one of the world's most well-known anti-death penalty activists.
I have actually met Sister Helen Bergeon. She came to speak at my college. So I got to watch her speech in the auditorium to the whole school, and then she came and spoke to one of my philosophy classes. She's the one that is it the Green Mile? I think it is. It's what I get the movies confused. The Green Mile. She's who the nun is based on.
Sister Helen Bergeon, if you can comment on this unprecedented, not in 100 years, has a lame duck administration.
That's another thing. General Flynn took $500,000 from Turkey in a scheme to try to kidnap somebody on American soil, gets a pardon from the president. But these poor people need to be put to death by firing squad if necessary.
Executed 1, let alone 5 prisoners in this period.
It just shows when you give absolute power over life and death to government officials, they can really do what they want. One interesting thing about Grover Cleveland and the lame duck time when he executed people.
Rudy is under investigation all over the place. I don't even know if that's the investigation that's going on in the Southern District of New York that I know about. You could be talking about a completely separate investigation. How the man still has a law license, I have no clue. Insane.
He had once been a sheriff in Erie, New York, and carried out execution. So he had it in his blood. And then for this to happen, it's just, see, I've accompanied 6 people to execution. It's this absolute power to...
Is it Dead Man Walking? Is that the name of the movie? I got confused with The Green Mile. That's the Stephen King book, right? She's the one that, Susan Sarandon? God, I'm horrible with actors' names and stuff. But that's who the character was based on, I guess, Dead Man Walking.
To take a human being who's alive and make these inscrutable decisions all along the way, as I was mentioning earlier. First of all, to even assume that out of all the murderers, you're going to be able to pinpoint the worst of the worst, either by their character, by their very nature.
By their skin color.
or by what they have done to determine they are in a special category all their own.
Poor. That's the common denominator with all of them. They are poor. That was one of the most startling statistics that I heard, was like 90-something% of the people on death row couldn't afford an attorney. That was when I changed my mind on the death penalty and said it should be abolished. Also, knowing how many innocent people we have put to death in this country. It's a stain. Now, to more grotesque law enforcement. In Mobile County, in Mobile County, Alabama, the Mobile Sheriff's Office has been decorating their Christmas tree with mugshots. Make it bigger here. Fucking Facebook. They posted, "We have decorated our tree with thug shots to show how many thugs we have taken off the streets. Throughout the month of December, we are offering all Mobile County thugs a special Christmas offer." So these are people who haven't even been convicted of anything. Accused of crimes. It is disgusting. President of the Alabama NAACP called the post despicable behavior. I concur. Also blasting the department for utilizing a symbol of the Christmas season to disparage people with future harm. Spokeswoman for the Mobile County Sheriff's Department says the tree's underlying message is getting lost by people who are out of town. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for reporting that. That's a good idea. I'm going to give them a call. Miles said that the Sheriff's Department is not removing the negative comments, nor is it altering the post. Well, thank God for that. Thug tree. I can't believe this. How about we have a little moment of levity and laugh at some dumb fuck right-wingers? Here is Tim Pool, who I've gone to his posts. I've told he's offered to fly lefties to his studios in Washington, D.C. and have them on the show so we can have more lefties on the show. I've responded to his posts. I've said, hey, dude, I'll fly to Washington, D.C. and be on your show. Let's see what he has to say.
Have that offensive comedy be something. It's like, listen, they want to cancel you. They want to fire you. They want to destroy your jobs. We're chilling. We got 1 million+ subs. We got a big old vlog channel. We got sponsors. We got drinks. We got all that fun stuff. You can come hang out, skate, and laugh, and you're not.
Now, the reason why I wanted to play this was I saw this video. Do you know what happens when you go to a Tim Pool post and call people on it a moron? If you go and say right-wingers are morons, do you know what happens? They try to tone police you. They ask, how are you going to win people over if you call them morons? Like, hey, I'm just being funny. Did you get offended by my post? Also, as someone who has been banned from venues, been fired from radio stations, fired from a job as a volunteer radio personality while I was in college, I know a little something about cancel culture. And Tim, let me tell you, it doesn't exist. I am responsible for my actions. Those clubs that won't let me perform stand-up comedy, they have a reason. And it's because of something I did. that they aren't okay with. That's cool. That doesn't mean I'm being censored. The radio station I was fired from, it's because of something I did. Take personal responsibility for your actions. You fucking child.
Not going to get canceled. That's what we need to put together. We need to tell the younger generation, you can have fun. You don't got to be a dainty little snowflake. You don't got to be constantly offended to fit in. You can actually be offensive and fit in, because we make fun of each other all the time, and it's funny. I don't know if you were watching the IRL podcast.
I'm telling you, go make fun of one of them right now. They will get their panties in a wad, I promise you. I've seen it happen. I actually have a bit where I talk about getting your panties in a wad, and I'm like, no, that's not offensive. I'm wearing panties. I always hated doing that bit, though, because while panties feel nice up against your junk, you can get wedgies really fucking bad from them. So I would have to wear the panties to the club for hours at a time, go right up my ass crack.
Last night we had Heshi Tischler, and he was constantly making fun of Ian, and it was funny. And then he turned around and said, no, Ian, I love you. And so that's kind of the thing. We want to be able to, play the circle game without being accused of being Nazis or whatever. We want to just have a good time. We want to get, off.
If you hold this shit up, the W and P, white power, you're a fucking Nazi, Tim. I've seen people do it around you. You're not playing the circle game, which is a fucking children's game.
Road vehicles and do backflips and just be like, we know what's up in this world. We know what freedom means. We know what ignoring this means.
No. To him, freedom means he gets to do whatever the fuck he wants, and nobody gets to criticize him back. It's okay for him to say what he wants to say. Yeah, they love to throw around the word communist without knowing what it means. And make no mistake about it, when they say communism, or they accuse you of being a commie boy, they're accusing you of being an authoritarian, which they absolutely are. It is projection, 100%. All right, guys, so you know about the monoliths, right? There was one in Utah, one in Romania, and now another one has popped up in California. I really didn't want to have to do this. I didn't want to talk about this shit. But apparently it's a very popular topic, and my YouTube video of it will get views. So this is a group. Now, they removed the monolith in Utah. And first of all, I want to say, I 100% believe this is some sort of marketing campaign. These guys are environmentalists. And they removed it. We're going to talk about the one in California here in a second. It wasn't removed by environmentalists. So they said, we removed the Utah monolith because there are clear precedents of how we share and standardize the use of public lands, natural wildlife, native plants, freshwater source, yada yada. The mystery was the infrastructure, and we want to use this time to unite people behind the real issue here. We are losing our public lands. Things like this don't help. So kudos to these people. But now I don't even know the whole story of this, so we're going to find this one out together. The one in California that popped up was torn down by a Christian group. A group of young men claiming to be Christians had posted a video of themselves tearing down a mysterious monolith that appeared atop a California mountain and replacing it with a cross, because of course they did. Has this all been about a Christian group, maybe? Let's watch this video. Let's not watch this ad. This is some sort of marketing campaign. Something to try to grab headlines. Let's see the story behind this Christian group here.
I guess this is the thing now, right? So be prepared to see these everywhere. Ah, dear.
I don't know about seeing them everywhere. Quite a bit of metal in one of those. "2001 is one of my favorite movies. I saw it in IMAX just a couple of years ago. Amazing."
It's very faint, but you can see that it was definitely hauled out of here. Someone that wrote "bye bitch" and clearly took a pee on where the monolith once stood.
Acesta este monolitul de pe Vârsta Doamnei de la cetate.
Maybe it's a Banksy installation or some shit.
Obosită, pusă de cineva.
Now this one, the one in Romania, looked different. Like the other one was smooth, and that one had like a texture to it. It seems to be standing tall, but we just heard that maybe that was the first video and the story was updated. I want to see this video.
Young man.
Streamed on D-Live. Doesn't look like it's up anymore. We're on D-Live right now. Maybe it got taken down, or maybe the site doesn't mirrored versus hammered sheet metal. That makes sense. But you've got to wonder, is it the same group, the same entity putting these things up if they're different metal? Alright, so when I was on Parler earlier today, I saw Dinesh D'Souza, convicted felon, post a video, and I just like, I watched a little bit of it. Let's watch it together. I don't know. Satire. Professor Richard Rawkins of Oxford makes a guest appearance, and he doesn't even dress up or anything. This guy just astounds me. How anyone can take him seriously is beyond me.
Good afternoon. I am Professor Richard Rawkins from Oxford University. Oxford University is basically code for I'm a very intelligent person, and besides, I happen to be English, and this gives me an accent that intimidates my American audience. Now I'm here to talk about the non-existence of God.
First of all, it's like posted today in 2020 as if Richard Dawkins is even relevant anymore. Maybe back in 2009 or something when the new atheist movement was going on. Oxford, what? Oxford is one of the oldest universities in the world.
Topic that I have been writing about for many years, along with my very good friend who also happens to be English, who also happens to have the accent, Mr. Christopher Critchens, the late Christopher Critchens. Well, I wish to show by means of a scientific experiment the impossibility of God. It is called the God Challenge. Basically what I do is I go to my garage and I put up a
cringe. Also, so I've said that he was funneling money through his mistress. I've misspoke. I said it was Ann Coulter. Apparently, he was married to somebody else, but was also dating Ann Coulter. Now, this is when I was trying to do the research on exactly who he cheated on. It was hard to figure out because apparently he was fucking Laura Ingraham. Left Laura Ingraham for Ann Coulter. Then married some other woman and was cheating on that woman. Now remember, back to the Obama administration, he called Obama a philanderer. Projection from the right-wingers. As I understood it, Ann Coulter tried to burn down his house, but that may have just been a rumor, and I wasn't correct about that. After it found out that he was cheating on one of the women that he was with because he was funneling money through her account and her husband's account in order to make political contributions, and that's what he pled guilty to. But let's take our moral cues from Dinesh D'Souza here.
God Challenge. Basically what I do is I go to my garage and I put up a ladder and then I ascend the ladder while recording my every movement in a journal. And then I stand on the ladder and I challenge God, God, if you exist, strike me down. And so I tried this experiment the other day. I ascended the ladder. My wife was taking...
I was mocking a pastor on the stream the other day and something in my bedroom flashed. God tried to strike me down and he missed.
Notes. And she warned me to be a little bit careful because, as some of you know, I can be a little clumsy at times. So
I'm sorry, Dave. This might be something that you might want to play. He just posted this just a couple of hours ago. I just happened to see it when I was on Parler. We're watching it together. He's claiming that he is what? Richard Dawkins, famed atheist, which is, how long's it been since Richard Dawkins has even been relevant? Did Dawkins do something to make the news? I hadn't heard about it.
So I ascended the ladder, but I kind of got into it, and I was like, God, if you really exist, strike me down. And I began to make some wild gesticulations, but unfortunately I slipped, and I fell on my ass. It was rather painful. My wife laughed uproariously. I had to go in and see the doctor. I had to have a rectal exam. An experience that I found to be surprisingly enjoyable. But in any event, I wish to assure
it is cringe.
Just fine. I'm quite normal, and I cite this experiment. I'll be trying to write it up for a scientific journal to prove that it was my error and not God's action that produced this result. And therefore, I see my experiment as a confirmation of the non-existence of God.
I can't believe anybody takes this guy seriously. Also, I don't think he knows what satire is. Notice that he had to put it on Rumble. Because it would totally get ratioed, mocked on any other platform. Nobody would take him seriously. Alright, guys. That's going to do it for me. I am going to be on tomorrow I believe the rally. I didn't. He was on Parler. I found it on Parler. So that's why I'm wondering if he actually put it on any other platform, because he would totally get dragged. Oh, I had Riverboat Jack ready. I don't think I'll follow Post Revolution. I'll go ahead and I'll add them, but I'm going to send you guys over to Riverboat Jack. Yeah. Big fan of Jack. She is amazing. I'm going to be back tomorrow night. We're going to live stream the Donald Trump rally from Georgia, because I'm incredibly interested on what he's going to say and how he's going to treat Loeffler and Perdue. After that, I'm going to have my best of show. So I'm going to send you guys, if you're on Twitch, you guys are going to go over to Riverboat Jack. Please join me tomorrow. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm Justin Freakin. We will see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol live.